Dan here with Designer's Show. Designer's Show. I forgot what I was doing for a minute there. I'm on the show with Robin Fisher. Robin, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, Dan?
Awesome. Thanks for being here today. I'm excited about having you on the show today, and not only that, but having you as part of Chief Experts Academy and getting you involved in doing some teaching in the kitchen and bath world. So that's going to be really fun. We've been having a lot of dialogue about that lately, and so cool things coming.
Yeah,
So,
I'm super excited about it. So it's great
cool.
to be able to get to work with you.
Yes, thank you. All right, so today we've got it's an open forum. I call it the K&B Q&A. So if you guys have any questions about the kitchen and bath industry and the different things that happen in that as far as the designers go, by all means, feel free to ask your questions. Just type them into the sidebar here, into the chat, and we'll have at it. So just a few housekeeping things. I have my first real commercial for the Designers Show. I always get on here and talk about, hey, we got to make some money to pay for these things. And I've never really done anything formally other than just mention things that people are offering and, check out the things at our website for the Pro Academy with the chief architect training that we do and some of the other things. But I've got a good friend of mine runs a company called Builder Funnel. And what he does, he's got a Builder Funnel Academy. And I'm just going to play it's a 1-minute video that I want to play for you that will explain what they've got going. So I'm going to play that right now.
Hey Designer Show, I'm Spencer Powell, the founder of Builder Funnel Academy, and for the last 11 years, my team and I have been helping remodelers, contractors, and builders build sustainable, scalable marketing systems using the internet. Are you struggling to get found online and build a website and social presence that will attract the types of clients you actually want? Well, today I want to tell you about Builder Funnel Academy. My team and I distilled everything we learned for the past 11 years, generating well over $100 million in sales for our clients, and we turned it into step-by-step instructions along with easy-to-use templates for your own campaigns. If you don't have a large budget or are already doing multi-millions each year, the Academy will fast-track your marketing success and allow you to learn alongside us as Google and social media and other marketing strategies and platforms change over time. If you've struggled to make your website generate high-quality leads or just don't know where to start, Builder Funnel Academy is the choice for you. We're also doing a special deal for you as a listener of The Designer Show, and Dan will have some links for you below. Check out Builder Funnel Academy today.
All right, how cool is that? Nice job by Spencer. So if you just scroll down the show page here, that you've been invited to. And you'll also see this if you're watching this on YouTube. I put a link to this at the bottom of the text on those channels, and you can get to learn more about the Builder Funnel Academy. So he does a great job. I've known Spencer for quite a while now. He's part of my mastermind group, and I know what he does, and I know how he does it. It's a phenomenal program, and you will learn so much from this. It's kind of interesting because back in the remember the 2008, 9, 10 days when the world crashed, and it was actually about 2011, I think. I thought, I'm going to try teaching something different. I'm going to teach websites, how to do websites, because I did a lot of that, and I was pretty good at it. And I learned real quickly that it's tough to teach people how to do websites and social media and all of that stuff. And so I'm going to leave that up to the pros, and Spencer will do a nice job for you. So you can play the video there, and you can check out his website, and by all means, please check him out. So appreciate it. All right, let's get to our show now. So Robin.
Hi.
We've been talking about doing this for a while now, and so I'm glad to have you here. We've got a few people chiming in. We got the Builder Design Studio. How you doing? E. White, and we've got Ken. So you guys, thank you. And anybody else, please chime in. Let us know where you're from, what you're doing. If you have questions for Robin, by all means, ask them anytime, and we'll get to them as quick as we can. John's off today, so he's busy doing a bunch of things at his homestead. So he figured just he figured I could handle it with Robin. So I'll take care of you, Robin. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Sound is tinny. Okay. Let me just check my settings and make sure I have the right audio selected. And I don't. Oh my goodness. Thank you for letting me know. That should sound a whole lot better.
Yeah, a lot better.
Okay, thank you. It was going to my headset, which is laying over there. I have a little mic up here that I normally speak into, and I normally check my settings before the show. So thank you very much for letting me know that. Okay. All right. So, Robin, I always kind of ask this question to everybody. What's your favorite hobby or your passion? What gets you excited?
Right now, what's really getting me excited is pasta. I've been really into making homemade pasta, which has been crazy. But normally it's, hanging out with my family, which, nobody's doing that right now. So it's a lot of staying at home, doing my house, working on my house, cycling. My husband and I are cyclists.
Bicyclists?
Yeah, bicyclists. Yeah, I'm not a motorcycle person.
You're not the Harley? You don't have a leather jacket?
No. Well, I have a leather jacket, just not one for for a Harley. No, my husband and I cycle, but I really am right now. My big passion is pasta, homemade pasta. Cool. It's a lot of fun to make.
That's awesome. A good friend of mine, Vicky Suter, who's been on this show before too. She's Italian and she's heavy into pasta. Makes the best meatballs ever. So someday we'll get together. You'll have to cook some pasta for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so much fun.
Yeah. All right. What a great hobby too. Okay. So Robin, you've been in the construction industry for a while now. Tell me a little bit about your background. Why, how did you get into this, where you're at today?
So I've been in the industry. I'd like to think it's been about 35 years. So it's a long enough time. I like to say that I started in the industry in the womb, but that's not true. Anyway, so I got into the industry kind of a little odd. I originally went to school to be an engineer, decided to switch to art history. That's a weird jump off. Realized that art history doesn't make any money, but it's a lot of fun. Love it, but makes no money. So then I moved into architecture and stayed there for a little while. I like architecture, but I didn't like that the focus was all on the outside of the house. So I moved into interior design because I really like the concept of how the house functions, what's happening on the inside of the home. So my ex-husband was a contractor, and I started doing design that way, and we've owned our own business. We were a general contractor. I was a GC for 17 years, and I have to say that it's not my forte. I'm not a great general contractor. I admire what you guys do, but it's not something I want to do anymore.
So as a GC, you were doing remodeling or new homes or both, or what kind of?
Just remodeling, mostly kitchen and bath, small additions. This was 1989 to I closed my business in 2003. And we were doing, a fair amount of work, and we were busy, but I just decided I'm really good at sales. I'm really good at design. Being a general contractor is a certain type of person, and I admire what they do. And now my position as a designer is to help to support the general contractor. Yeah, I was a general for 20 years myself. And you got to be I don't know, should we get goofy here and say you got to be glutton for punishment? Is that the right term? Yeah, I think so. I think it's a babysitting job. Being a general contractor is babysitting. Yeah, you are. You get a good chance of practicing parenting skills all across the board. Exactly. It's a tough business, no doubt about it. There's so many things you have to do, and so many things you have to do right. And if you do any of them wrong, it can really cost you. So, yeah, absolutely. Hats off to general contractors out there. Keep up the good work, and we'll keep trying to bring good information that will help you in your business. So that's one of the things I love about Chief Architect so much is that I've seen what it does for businesses, especially general contractors, or anybody building anything. It's just like, if you got good plans, you're going to have a much, much better project. So, well, and I think that's kind of the opportunity that I have to be able to just focus on design is I can be better and more supportive for my contractor. To me, it's a team, right? Design and construction, we need it all to work together really well. And as a friend of mine says, it's really important to stay in your lane and know what you do. So as a designer, my job is to support the contractor. Once it goes into production, I'm the support person. And, I feel like I'm an asset.
Yeah, we were talking about that quite a bit yesterday too. I think a lot of times contractors might feel threatened by having an outside designer. I don't know if threaten's the right word or not, but so they try to bring it all in house and have make it a design build business. So you do a lot of work with contractors?
Yeah, I do. I work with 4 different contractors. I have 2 that run multiple projects at a time. One that's really focused on sustainability. So that's really their bailiwick. They really like focusing on projects that are incredibly sustainable. The other company is a larger firm who can run multiple projects at a time. Both of them will do projects for me that are new construction or large remodeling projects.
Okay.
Then I have one contractor who works with 3 other designers in Portland. 2 other designers in Portland. He typically does 4 projects a year. I get on his schedule for 1 project a year, and that's it.
Oh, wow.
I know, right? It's just the way he works. The other contractor I have does the really small little projects, the little tiny projects that you need help with.
Okay.
And I think that's important as a designer to have a group. And I try to not have too many contractors because my job, I feel like, is to help feed them. And give them work, right? And I don't want to spread myself. I don't spread myself too wide. I like to work with just a small group. And that way they know how I work. I know how they work. We know how to support each other. They know when I'm on the job, what my job is. And they rely on me.
So
and I can rely on them.
Do you work with private parties too? Homeowners, businesses?
I do. Yeah. Okay. Yes, I do. What I try to stay away from are the clients who want to be their own general contractor. That's always a nightmare. I work really hard to say, this is a really challenging job. It's a really challenging job. I worked for a brain surgeon one time, and that's always the joke. I worked with a brain surgeon one time, and we were designing his kitchen, and he just said, "Oh my God, I don't know what I would do without you. This is really hard." And and I said, it's not brain surgery. And he goes, "No, it's not, but this is tough work. And I know nothing about this. This is not in my world." And so it's the joke. I told him, don't ever be a contractor or a designer, and I'll never be a brain surgeon, and life will be great.
That makes good sense. Yeah. So, and I talk a lot about that in my training and things that I do when I talk to people about, you think of a brain surgeon, it's like, they're going to school for all these years and all this, and you put them kind of on a pedestal, and then you think about a contractor or designer, and it's just like, what? Most contractors and designers have a wealth of knowledge that, like you just mentioned, that layperson doesn't have. They don't have a clue. They don't know how to find it. They don't know the right questions to ask, on and on and on. And so we do bring a lot of value to the industry with the profession of design. And, it's just, so it really is a good business model when you can do that. So I got out of contracting back in 1996. I had the opportunity to get involved with chief architect and stay involved doing design for people instead of doing the contracting. It was a really great transition for me to be able to quit contracting after 20 years and do this full time. And again, I that same thing. I had a wealth of knowledge that I gained over those 20 years about building and design, and then I continued to educate myself on and on. So, and I know you've done the same thing.
Absolutely. So, and I do want to clarify design wise, I think that what I do I'd like to say that I'm like an interior architect, although you can't use that term, right? So I do more space planning and focus on kitchen and bath. I'm not, even though I'm educated to do furnishings and stuff, that's a whole nother world. And when I'm designing, I actually bring in somebody who is really brilliant at doing furnishings and window coverings and all that kind of stuff, I try to just focus on what I do. I think that, just if everybody, I know this, I'm repeating myself, but everybody stays in their lane and knows what they do and become experts in it, I think the client, two things happen. First of all, the contractor can get the job done quicker, which makes them more money. The clients get a project that's happier because it's done quicker.
Yeah.
And, everybody makes more money, and it's an easier process.
Yeah. In the making more money thing, we'll talk about that in a little bit. We got a question here about hourly charges and stuff like that, which we generally get those questions.
Yeah. But
the process that you go through when you're working with a contractor, can you talk about that a little bit? How do you find these contractors? And I've always, a lot of times I mentioned too, you don't need a ton of clients. You just mentioned you have 4 contractors you work for.
Yeah.
And I assume you do pretty well in your business because you're still doing it. Otherwise, you might go out and work at McDonald's or not.
Probably go to Ferguson's first, but
Okay, that's fair. So tell me a little bit about how you go about establishing a good working relationship, how you go about finding, contractors to work with, because that, again, great source of work.
Absolutely. So how do I want to start this way? The contractor that I work with that only takes 4 projects a year, I've been working with him since I was a general contractor. So, we've had a relationship since the 90s. We've been working together for a very long time. The other 2 contractors I actually found through clients. I designed the project. They brought in their contractor, and I was so impressed with the way they worked that we ended up sitting down and talking about how we can work together. And, at that point, I really explained to them what I see my position as, and we had a very clear understanding what my position is. And then the younger contractor I found, he contacted me actually kind of through a few other designers in town. And he said, I'm tired of just doing tile. I want to start doing small remodeling projects. That's been a process, because just because he was really great at doing tile did not mean he understood contracting. So, and I'm sure like everybody listening and going, yeah, yeah. So he didn't understand how to really manage his time. So I have a small design business group. There's 5 designers in Portland that we get together once every few weeks and just talk about business. Anyway, we kind of took him under our wings, and through some poor starts, like really poor starts, we feel like we've had the opportunity to be able to, I don't want to say mold him, but teach him how to move into the world of being a GC, which is not the same as being a tile contractor. I mean, we are talking being a specialty contractor. You guys are all probably nodding your heads going, yeah. Just because you're really good at one thing doesn't mean you're great at others. So we spent a lot of time trying to support him and help him to become a better contractor. He's getting close, but he would be what I would consider my 80% contractor, somebody who I won't give a high-end job to, and I won't give him he's not ready for a big project. He can do like a powder room remodel or, paint these cabinets, fix this little thing. That's really where he is right now. And I try to encourage him to take the baby steps. But that's how it's kind of a long way to say how I found my contractors.
Cool. So yeah, you're growing him into that. And part of that whole concept too is you as the designer, you're a separate separate business. You're not working as an employee for the contractor. Right. Have you had to work with your contractors and help them understand how to sell design services so that you could come in? Do you work with the contractor or do you work with the homeowner? Who pays you when you're doing these services and these projects?
So I get referred by my contractor.
Okay.
Then they refer me, but then typically I am separate from them. And anybody who is a designer in this group, the one thing that I will not do is if I'm referred by a contractor and the client says, can you give me another name? I'm really clear in saying, no, this contractor referred me. this is who I recommend. And I'm really clear on that. I'm not going to do something. And I've actually broken off relationships with contractors because I was not happy with their process. Like, I've asked them not to refer me anymore because I won't refer them back, right? So to me, it has to be a two-way street. When I work with a contractor the first time, I like to have a sit-down meeting with them and explain to them what I can bring to the table. So typically, and this is kind of a rough way of talking about it, but as a designer, the designer is in charge in the design phase, but I bring the contractor in early to make sure that budget-wise we're still on track. You know, I don't want to design something and then have to spend all this time reverse engineering it, because then nobody's happy. So I bring the contractor in early just to say, hey, Robin, you're still on track, or wow, that's going to cost a fortune, or, you know, whatever. And that way the client is already creating a relationship with that contractor. So there's always a little bit, there's always that. And what I'm trying to do is build the team beforehand. Then once the project goes into production, then I take the supportive role. And there's certain things that I like to be involved in. So one of the things that I'm totally involved in is the cabinetry. So I do all the reviewing of the shop drawings. I get the sign off from the client. Any changes that are going to happen, I deal with it. Not the money part of it, but the design process, the design product of it. I meet with I typically schedule an appointment with I get the schedule from my contractor, and I like to be on the project site the second day that the electrician's on the job. You know, first day the electrician's on the job, they're just pulling wires and boxes in. But the second day of the job, I like to come in and meet with the electrician and walk through placement of switches, because switches, or, you know, first of all, switches, I can put them on the wall in a plan, but I have no idea that there's ducting there, or, you know, a whole ton of wood supporting a wall. So the switches always need to be relocated, and I like to have a conversation about that. So, and then the other thing is, you know, I don't know where ducting is in the ceiling, or if there's a supportive, you know, something's happening in the ceiling. Just because I put a can on the plan there doesn't mean a recessed can can go there. So we talk about that. Then I also do what's known as what I call a pre-cover inspection. So just before sheetrock, I come back in and do a walkthrough with the electrician and measure the locations of the cans to make sure that the cans are in the right place and that we're not going to have a sheetrock, a crown molding problem, and make sure that outlets are in the right spot and stuff like that.
So
it's always,
so you really become a second pair of eyes for the contractor then.
Yeah. And what I like about this is my contractors tell my clients, Robin will be involved during the production. They can't write me off, right?
Yeah. Oh, that makes perfect sense. So you're being there really ensures the contractor's success of the project, because now, you know, if an outlet gets put in the wrong place and it gets sheetrocked and taped and painted, it's like, oh, especially if the tile.
What about the one that I love the most is crown molding? You know, you do this crazy big crown molding that's coming out of the wall, and then the can is halfway underneath it, you know.
Oh, not a good idea. All right. So cool. Yeah. So that makes perfect sense. And then again, that communication that you have with the contractor and the homeowner about your responsibility. Do you work with an agreement, a written agreement that you have, or you just, you know, how do you handle all that kind of stuff?
When I work with a new contractor, somebody who I've never worked with before, I send a letter to them and I say, my contract with my client says that I will be involved through the production. Okay. And here's how I support you. And then I outline it. And I say that what I do and how I support them. And I try, so I send them a letter, but I also like to have a sit down conversation with them, you know, just kind of repeating how I work with them. You know, when it's a new relationship, you have to set a ground rule. I don't want to say ground rule, but you have to set some, a space, right? Or a boundary or whatever, and say who's doing what. Yeah.
You know, the more people know what's going on, the smoother it's going to go. So
absolutely.
So when mean, you've been doing this a while now, so I think you mentioned to me that you only work by referral now, so you don't do
Yeah. Only referral or previous clients. I don't take
Yeah.
new clients anymore.
Okay. So that's good.
Well, because I'm like you, Dan, I want to teach more. So I teach part-time at our local community college. It's an NKBA supported program. So I teach kitchen and bath designing. I teach chief there. I teach an aging, living in place design studio class. So so my focus is more on teaching more so than, but I don't want to give up design. I love design. I'm not going to give it up.
Well, and it keeps you sharp on what you're doing too. So,
absolutely.
I can't quit design, because if I did that, I would stop learning how to use Chief Architect. And
absolutely,
if I do that, then I couldn't teach it, et cetera, et cetera. So
it makes you a better teacher. I agree.
It does. It does. So we were mentioning, you mentioned to me about, and I made this one of the topics here. Don't let CAD leave you undercharging for your services. You want to clarify what that means?
Yeah. So there's a few people ask what I charge. So I'm in Portland, Oregon, and I'm not at the top of the list, but I'm definitely not at the bottom. So my hourly rate's $140 an hour, which is not the highest, but it's definitely not the lowest in town.
Right.
But I've always worked on an hourly basis. And I discovered this last year. So here's what I do. My contract says that my design fees are going to be in this range. So let's say it's a large kitchen remodel where we're relocating doors and windows and, maybe some structural issues. I don't do the engineering. Okay. So we have to hire that out. That's an additional charge. But I write all the specs. I do the electrical plan. I do all the construction documents. So I create the permit ready plans. Okay.
So you're doing that for the whole project or just the kitchen and bath part?
For the whole project, anything that has to do.
If it's a room addition, I mean, all that you're doing all that kind of stuff.
If it's a small room addition, I can handle. If it's a bigger, like a second story room addition, then I have to work with a building designer like you.
Okay.
I have to work with somebody who knows how to do that. I can do a very small addition, but anything bigger than that's outside my scope. Right?
Oh, okay. But you still take care of everything. You're the lead
I take care
person on it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't take my plans in for permits. I have my contractor take plans in. I don't do that.
Okay.
So typically my contracts would read something like this. For a big kitchen remodel, my design fees are anywhere from a low end project around $5,000 to $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, right? So that's where my design fees are, depending upon where the scope of the project is, right? So what I found last year, and I've always billed hourly, and so like a kitchen remodel, I tell my clients that their fees are going to be in the $7,500 to $9,000 range. So they know that they're going to spend between $7,500 and $9,000, but I bill hourly. My bookkeeper did a review, and I'm really bad at job costing. It's not what I want to do. So I have a bookkeeper, right? But we haven't been job costing all year long. And
so
seriously,
let me stop you for a second and clarify that. You don't like doing job costing, but you understand the importance of doing it. So you
absolutely.
Get it done. Okay.
Oh my God. No, I haven't. I didn't do it at all last year. Didn't do it at all last year. You guys, if you're not doing job costing, there's money sitting on the table that you are losing. Oh my God. It's the most important thing in the world. So let me tell you what happened was my bookkeeper did job costing, and she said, Robin, do you know that last year alone, you lost between, ready for this, $25,000 to $65,000 last year. And here's the reason why. And I blame it on Chief. Okay. So in a subtle way, you guys. So let's tell you why. Because I become so efficient using Chief Architect, I used to use AutoCAD. And I mean, well, let's go back to the beginning. I used to hand draw, right? Then I went to AutoCAD, really fast on AutoCAD, I thought, raised my rates so that way I was making money, but didn't raise my rates when I went to Chief. And because Chief is so efficient, I was able to get my jobs done quicker. And billing hourly ended up making me lose money. So what I need to do now, so this year, I'm signing contracts with clients that's based on a flat rate, and I bill them out based on different phases of the project, and I'm making more money. Already I'm making more money. So now I don't have to have 20 projects at a time. I can run 5 projects and I'm making more money, and it's ridiculous. I can't believe I did that. I cannot believe I did that.
Well, that's how you learn, you know.
Right. But I could be, seriously, I could have taken a 4-week vacation to Paris, not last year, but this next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And people ask me that all the time too. What should I charge? What do I charge? You know, it's just like as much as you can get, I guess. Isn't that kind of the answer you want to give? And of course, no one wants to hear that.
Yeah.
And, you know, what's fair? What is fair in this world of design? Because again, the knowledge you have, you know, going on up there when you're working with a client and helping them with their project and making the decisions that you make, and, you know, helping to control everything that goes on in that project is, I mean, you might be saving them twice as much in mistakes and bad
Absolutely.
choices than they're spending on having you do that. So
Absolutely.
So that becomes,
well, and you know, it's that Picasso story I was telling you about yesterday. So I've been in the industry for 35 years. So there's this great little story about Picasso. He was sitting in a park last year, or if not last year, but he was sitting in a park in Paris. And some woman came up and said, "Oh my God, I love your work. Would you draw something for me?" And it was when he was doing his little scribble work, his one-line work. Anyway, he did this little thing, and he told her some crazy number. I don't know. It was a long time ago. So maybe he said, you know, $500. And she was appalled. And she said, "It only took you 5 minutes to do it." And he said, "And 35 years.
Yeah.
And you need to bill yourself appropriately based on, I mean, I'm a certified master of kitchen and bath design. I have done this. I've been a designer. I've been a certified master of kitchen and bath design since 2001. I have been practicing for 35 years. I mean, I focus on my education. I travel. I travel when we can, obviously. I go to shows in the US, in Europe. I write articles. I wrote a textbook for the NKBA on sustainability. I mean, I have a knowledge base. I am not Susie Decorator who just started doing design. I have an education, and what I do is brings a value, not just for me, but not just for the client, but for the entire project.
Right.
And that's the most important thing. I mean, people need to recognize it. So when clients ask me, you know, your price is higher than so-and-so, it's like, and do they have all this experience? Do they understand how a kitchen really works?
Right.
You know, I'm going to make your life easier. My favorite part of designing is when I'm designing a kitchen, I love it when clients call me afterwards and say, the best part about my kitchen is not just that it's beautiful, but it is so easy to work in.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's the best part, right?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So that value that you bring, you know, pricing your services is so subjective. It's extremely difficult to do. It's, you know, it's hard sometimes to ask for a certain number. I just raised my rates to 170 an hour, but I still sell packages of 10 for 140 an hour. So that was hard. It's like, oh God, you know, no one's going to hire me at 170. Shit, I'm selling more than I did before.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I was working with a guy last night. We spent 4.5 hours on this plan. I kicked out so much work in 4.5 hours. It's just like, holy shit, I should have charged him twice what I just charged him. Because of the knowledge I brought to the process that we're doing.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
So there's
a question here. There's a question here, Dan. It says, Glenn Foreman said, for the CAD process, what are you charging? And so here's what I'm doing, Glenn, is I'm actually charging what I would have normally told my client to charge, that I was going to charge them. I'm not raising my rates up, but I'm just now making, so let's just say this. If one of my projects I did last year, I had my contract said that I was going to charge them $7,500 for design, $7,500. But because I billed hourly, I only billed them like $5,000. So now I'm charging them the $7,500. So I'm just charging them what they should have been charged, right? I mean, you can do this too. You probably walk into a house and go, yeah, it's going to be about this much. So now, or how much time? The problem with flat rate, and you do need to be aware of it, is that some projects are going to cost, you're going to lose some money on, some you're going to make a lot of money on.
Yeah.
The big thing is if you're charging flat rate, you really have to define what's in that scope. How many revisions? Like, 4 revisions I'm willing to do. After that, you have to be really willing to say to the client, you need to understand that we are now hitting the 4th revision. Any other revisions after this, you will be charged at my hourly rate of. So it's just about communicating with that client. You have to do that.
Yeah. And, that frees you up a lot too, to not have to report the hours that you have on a job. I mean, it's just like, I have a good friend that charges by the phase, I guess you might call it. He says, yeah, so we're going to take the design and we're going to do conceptuals and get it to this point, and that's going to be such and such dollars. Right. And whether he spends 2 hours getting to that point or 20 hours getting to that point, that's what he has to deal with. The customer is going to get that flat rate. Okay.
Right.
So like you said, sometimes you'll make money, sometimes you'll lose money. And then we say, okay, what do you think of that? Now let's go to the next phase. And the next phase is going to cost again this much. So that's another way to do it.
The other thing though I do is I still track my time. The reason why I track my time is to make sure that my flat rate is appropriate, right?
Yep,
I mean,
exactly.
You still have to track your time. I use a program called Harvest, and I can put it on my phone. So for the designers in the room, when I walk into a showroom, I immediately click on which clients I'm going to be working on. So I'm tracking my time when I walk into a showroom. And that way I'm billing my clients at, attorneys charge. I've received a $12 bill from an attorney one time for like a 3-minute phone call. We should be doing the same thing.
Only 12?
I know, right? Well, it was a long time ago. I haven't had to deal with an attorney for a while, thank God.
Yeah, no kidding. So that's, you just mentioned Harvest. So it's getharvest.com. Getharvest.com. It looks like, okay, I've not seen this program before. So for those of you on the call, you can check that out if you want to. So you've been using this program for a while?
Program.
Looks like
I've been using it for...
Looks like a nice, simple
I've been using
program.
it for a while. It will also link to, it was linked to my QuickBooks account, and I can do my invoicing right here, and then it invoices directly to QuickBooks.
Okay.
I've been using it for a while. A few other designers that I know have been using it longer and love it. Yeah. What I like is that it's on my phone, and I can immediately, if I'm like, I pull up to a client's house, I click that I'm working for them. I don't turn that off until I'm sitting back in my car. I charge that way. Diane said, do you have difficulty in getting your current builders to accept your new method of charging? So Diane, I don't, my contractors are not paying me. I get paid directly from my clients. So they're not complaining about it.
Yeah, they're going to get the same service no matter what. No matter,
absolutely.
Because you're dealing directly with the homeowner. How about if you were getting paid by the contractor? Would you do the same kind of a deal?
Yeah, I probably would, because I still, there's still my value. Why am I hemming and hawing on that? Yes, I would still charge the same rate because I'm still offering the same service. Don't shortchange yourself. We're designers. Our value is important, and we're bringing to the table. And and there's, if a contractor wants to mark me up, I don't mind doing that. But most of my contractors just say, Robin, deal direct. I don't want to get involved.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here's a great question. After designing a home with the construction docs, what do you charge to sell? That should be sell the plans to a client who has a builder. So,
so Diane, I'm working on 2 brand new houses right now. And all I'm doing, I don't do the construction documents like that. I do the floor plans and the specifications on a new home. So I don't do the foundation plan. I don't do the framing plans. I don't do that because that's outside my ability to do a whole house. So what I put together are the floor plans. I work with the building designer to understand what we can and can't do. And then I deal with the floor plan and modify what's happening on the inside of the house. Then I write all the specs for everything from, baseboards, floors, paint colors, window details, cabinetry, all of that, plumbing fixtures, all the stuff that goes on the inside of the house. So I try really hard to make sure that's where I am. So I'm doing, and I'm probably undercharging myself, but I'm working on a 5,000 square foot house for a client right now. And I'm just doing the interiors. And I think I'm charging them $30,000 for the interior design part of it. That's, I might be undercharging. I don't think I'm at 30. I think I'm at 25,000 is what I'm charging them.
How hard is it for you to go to a client and say, I'm going to charge you 30,000 for your design within, this is the scope?
It's not a problem at all. I haven't had a problem with it, right?
Okay.
Here's the thing. It's all about confidence and what are you bringing to the table? How can I make, what am I bringing to the table? You just have to don't hem and haw about it.
How do you arrive at that number?
I don't know. I just kind of.
That seems like a good number.
It seems like a good number. No, I actually have other designer friends that I've talked to and said, I'm doing this kind of a project. What do you charge? What have you charged? Okay. So, I have a, I know you talk about having a mastermind group. I have a small group of designers that, like I said, we get together once a month. It's about once every 6 weeks we meet, and we talk about everything from pain in the ass clients. Sorry, didn't said that, but whatever. That's all right. We all have that. We all have that client. To employees, to how to deal, tax issues or whatever's happening with us. And we're all really willing to share. And we are all in Portland. We're all together. And here's the best part is we all refer people back and forth. Like I just got a referral from another designer. I have given referrals to other designers. It's really great. It's nice. And we are really honest and open with each other.
How did you manage to put that group together?
So Betsy Brandenburg, who is coming, going to work with, somebody on the show soon.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and you got to talk to her. She's brilliant. She and I met many, many, many years ago because we shared the same contractor, and we called I'm having problems with this contractor doing this. So we got together and we sat down with him and said, we need to chat, right? So we didn't gang up on him. We were nice, but so she and I became friends and we just started chatting. And then over the years, we brought in other designers to just share business ideas, but they didn't work out real well. So then when we decided to bring the group back together again, then we just brought in some other people. One of the designers in the group I worked with at a large remodeling company. Actually, two of them I worked at a large remodeling company with. One of them was, when I worked at that company for a while, she was actually my assistant. And since then, she's gone on to start her own business. And then one was a past student of mine who is brilliant. And she was just starting her business. And I said, you want to join the group? So it was nice. Cool. And everybody is really cool and totally willing to share.
So you have you meet once a month? Is that what you do?
Yeah, once every, Shelly's on the group. Shelly just joined in. Shelly's in our group. I think we meet every 4 to 6 weeks. It kind of changes.
Oh, okay. Cool. Shelly, yeah. I like how you spell your name. That's really cool. Shelly. Yeah. Shelly. That's a neat spelling.
She's somebody who you need to meet too, Dan. She's awesome. Okay. She's brilliant.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let me just talk for a second about fees. And I've talked about this for a long time, for years. And there's 3 ways that I look at how much it should cost for a plan. And I still struggle charging a flat rate fee because, and I told you yesterday a little bit about why. Most of what I do is coaching. I help people with plans, finish parts of plans and things like that. So I'm not really doing a whole project. I don't want to do what you do. I don't want to go out and design a whole project. I don't want to pick out doorknobs and paint colors and all that stuff. I want to do the plan, be done with it, and pass it on to the next person.
Absolutely.
And I'm really good at that, and that's what I like to do. So, so there's so many different ways to look at the services you offer. First thing you want to do is make a list of all of the different services you offer. Okay, so you do measure the job, you do as-built, you draw the plan, you will make, you'll pick out windows, doors, you'll pick out cabinets, there's a lot of things that you can offer as a design service besides just drawing plans. Okay.
Absolutely.
And just drawing plans. I mean, if you're a drafter, you go work for a company and you draw what they tell you to draw. You're probably not doing that if you're a designer on this call. You're probably in your business and you're coming up with all the ideas for the client. So you can charge by the square foot. And when we look at what architects charge for like a new home plan, or not just architects, any designer, I've seen prices as low as 35 cents a square foot, up to $7.50 a square foot. Okay. And then I always ask, well, is that for the living area or the whole footprint of the house, the garage and everything? And, you know, do you charge for each floor, or is that just based on the outline of the first floor? So there's a whole bunch of things that have to go into what's included in that. Okay. I've seen people charged by a percentage, you know, as low as 1% up to 15% for the design services. Right. And again, what are you including within that? You know, what's your scope included in that percentage rate? So
that's, I've heard that you have to just kind of plan time. You know, you have to think about how much time everything is going to cost you, right? How much time it's going to take.
Yeah, and that's the other way to look at it. By the hour, okay? How many hours do you think it will take to do the project? And when you do all three of those scenarios and you look at the difference between the percentage and what you think it'll take per hour, usually there's a pretty wide gap there. So probably somewhere in between there is the number that you should be looking for. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So that's another way to start coming up with ideas of what pricing should be. I had a client email me this week, retired guy, he's doing plans for people. And he asked me, how much should I charge for a plan? And I said, well, I don't know. What are you drawing? So I asked him a bunch of questions, and he said, yeah, about 1,800 square foot, twin home, pretty straightforward, one level, not real complicated. And I said, well, what are you going to charge him? And he said, $600. And I said,
oh my gosh,
that's kind of what I said. I said, no, that's not enough.
That's below minimum wage.
Yeah.
That is below minimum wage.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
You know, and it's just like, you know, and then I asked him too, are you drafting what they're telling you to draft, or are you designing too? He said a little bit of both. So, you know, I said, well, you know, buck and a half a foot should be a fair price. And
for 1,800, so was that 1,800?
Yeah, 1,500 to 2,500. It's kind of gave him a range. So
still kind of low. I mean, but if you're just drafting, it's still kind of low.
It is.
Don't shortchange yourself, guys. That's like the most important thing to do. What you're offering, oh my God, just think of all the codes you know. Just think of all the codes that you know off the top of your head.
Yeah.
And how much time it takes to research the codes to find out where something should be. That is crazy. Oh my gosh. And that's what drives me nuts even when I talk with my students who leave school and they after they've had a little bit of experience and they shortchange themselves, charging $25 an hour. What are you doing? You have a degree, you know, charge appropriately. Yeah. I don't know. Well, I don't know. It drives me nuts.
It's like the carpenter that becomes a contractor all of a sudden because they can do a deck and then they do a room addition. And so they're trying to make, $45 an hour, and, mark up their,
but you're
mark up everything else 10%. It's like, well, that's really wrong. And here's why. We won't get into that, but
exactly. Dan, I took a class last year. I took a class last year with a designer named Julia Malloy, and she's really big in the interior design industry. And she said, and Shelley, you'll probably be able to help me there. She said, every item, like a light fixture that you design, I don't do furnishings, but just say you're selecting a light fixture, that your time into selecting that one light fixture, from the time that you select it, you're researching it, you make the selection, you present it, you order it, you receive it, and you place it into the house, it's like 4 to 8 hours.
And you're responsible for it.
And that's just a light fixture. That's not, now just think about everything that you're specifying as a designer, or you're a building designer and you're trying to decide, how that window is going to go in. It's not just, every house isn't the same. You're dealing with how that roof line is going to hit, and you have that charge for your time. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Charge for your time. I cannot. And I will tell you, the reason why I'm saying this is because I have 35 years in the industry and I have screwed myself many, many, many times by undercharging. Right? I mean,
God, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
And it's, the AIA, the architect world, it's against their rules, I guess you'd call it. When you become an architect, you cannot talk about fees like we're talking about right now in any form, shape whatsoever. That's just part of their monopoly. And monopoly is not the right word, but that's just the way they do it. And I understand why they do it. But it's really hard for someone getting in the industry to know what to do, or, if you can't talk about it. So that's kind of why we're doing this, to talk about this kind of stuff, to get the conversation going, to get you thinking about, what you're doing, what your services are, the value you bring to what you're doing. And, go to my website, by the way, chiefexpertsacademy.com, which you should be there already if you're here, and look at, on my homepage, if you scroll down, you'll see a free handout you can get, 15 reasons you should charge more for your plans. I highly encourage you to grab that, read through it, make notes on it, send me comments. I would love to hear your comments about it. It's actually, I think I've got 18 or 19 reasons in there, but I just never changed the title. It's really, I'm trying to just bring some awareness to people that are, like the guy that wanted to charge $600 about the value you're bringing to what you're doing. And you don't compare yourself to other people. Don't worry about the competition. Just do what you think is right for you and fair, and
absolutely
handle it that way. So highly encourage you to grab that. And we're working on a handout for you too that we're going to be giving away. That should be pretty exciting. So
great.
Anyway, so we've got MZ, how much do you ask the client what they want? How much do you ask the client what they want, and where do you tell them this is what you want? Not totally, Anna, following that. Could you clarify it a little bit better, maybe? Do you get what she's asking there?
I think I do. So before I meet with a client, and I recommend this, I have a lifestyle questionnaire that I send my client prior to our official meeting, our first meeting. And the lifestyle questionnaire really deals with, it's like 6 pages long. I try not to make it too long. And I know some people are going, it's a lot. Anyway, it's about 6 pages long. And what I do is I ask them who lives in the house, any physical limitations that somebody has in the house, shoulder issues, hearing, whatever. And are they in the process of their home of expanding or contracting? A young couple going to have babies, an older couple, kids are leaving, whatever. Dan and I are still in the expansion stage, because even though our kids are gone, they're coming home with partners and then babies, hopefully. We're still kind of in that phase, right? But then there's a point to where when you're retired and your kids now have their own homes, now you're in the contraction phase where your home is getting smaller and somebody else is hosting the big parties. So I ask them that. I ask, how do they grocery shop? How do they entertain? How do they, what their sustainability quotient is? How do they feel about recycling and composting and indoor air quality and water conservation?
Unfortunately, we're running short on time, so you can't keep going.
Oh, got it. Oh, sorry.
But I know.
Okay, so anyway, so I asked my client what that is, and exactly. So then I just help them devise. It's really conversation.
I just tell my clients that any remodeling project, a room addition, the kitchen, it's really just a series of answering about 5,000 questions, or a new home might be 10,000 questions, or whatever it is. So
absolutely,
ask your client, well, do you know what those questions should be? And it's like, well, I do. Okay. And I'm going to ask you them, and you're going to answer me. And between that, we're going to come up with the best plan ever for your project. Right. So keep that in mind. You know the questions to ask, and that's a big part of why they're hiring you. So just keep that in mind. And that's true for any profession too.
Absolutely. Can I just answer real quickly Nina's question?
Absolutely. Nina. Hey, Nina. Nina lives in Alaska. She's been to my classes a number of times, and one day I want to come and visit you, Nina.
Nina, the thing is that you need to do is write your scope up and explain to them how many revisions you're going to have. how many revisions you're going to deal with. So if they keep changing their mind, you are going to start charging them, and then feel confident enough in yourself to say, we are now at 3 revisions. Your contract reads 4 revisions. After that, I'm charging you my hourly rate. It's just feel confident. You can send an email if you don't feel comfortable enough to talk to them in person. But and what you also have to understand is that if they respond back to you in a positive way, then that's a legally binding contract as in an email. But just I would talk to them about that. I would just be honest with them and tell them. And write your scope better. Write your scope more detailed.
That's really, communication, bottom line.
Absolutely.
Communicate it in writing up front and communicate it in writing as you're doing it. So that's really kind of key all across the board with everything we do, isn't it? Communicate with the client. So, well, cool. We have 5 minutes left. And Nina says, hello, Dan. Nina. Nina, can't you wait? Hopefully we'll get our shots here soon. So when we get together again, we can do some hugs again. So that's what I'm a big hugger when we do our, whenever I meet people and you find that when people come to my classes and stuff, we do a bunch of that. Of course, I have to be careful with that now with all the stuff going on. I don't know if that's socially acceptable anymore. I hope it is. Anyway, so good conversation. And, again, one of the other things is, you're really working to help eliminate the overwhelm of a project. And again, imagine if you have 5,000 questions you need to ask, but you don't know what they are, how overwhelming that can be for the client and, for the contractor too. The contractor doesn't have time to ask all those questions and get all those answers and deal with all those little details. No. Because that's such a big part of the job. Again,
they have so many more, I don't want to say more important things, but bigger issues that they need to be dealing with. And if you can take that off the contractor's plate, it's more efficient. Yeah. And the client feels like they're being heard. The biggest thing is that there has to be really good communication between the client and the contractor and the designer and the contractor. You all have to communicate. That's the most important thing. You have to talk. You have to talk a lot. Yeah.
Well, one thing I forgot to mention, you're part of this little deal right here, aren't you?
Yeah.
This NKBA.
The second book on that list. I help write it with my department head. It's the Kitchen and Bath Sustainable Design. Yeah.
So I know you've been heavily involved with the NKBA and you've been
absolutely
with them for a long time and you study this stuff religiously. So, and you've got a bunch of initials that kind of prove that. So
yeah, there's a lot of alphabet soup at the end of my name.
Yeah. The clip creps. Yes. Anyway, that's very cool. And I encourage anybody on this call, what would you feel would be one of the first certifications someone that's involved in the kitchen and bath world should go after? You have anything?
I think the certified kitchen and bath certification, I think, is the most important. You would not have the CM, you would not have the M after it. It would be a CKBD.
Okay. Yeah.
The advantage of that is you're learning. There's 2 parts about it. The test is not as challenging as I think it should be. I think it should be a lot harder. But the best part about being a certified designer in any kind of level of certification is that you have to continue education.
Yeah.
You have to constantly be taking additional courses. And, that's keeping you up on top of your game. You need to know what's going on in the world. Right. Yeah, and it's not just design stuff. It's also codes and, you have to learn all that stuff. It's not just the fluffy stuff.
Same thing in the contracting world for generals and carpenters and stuff. Go check out NARI, check out NHB for their certifications. I know the Remodeler Association has CK or CR, certified remodeler. They have certified remodeling lead carpenters. I don't know what the initials are. I was a certified.
Don't they also have this? They have the CGR too. There's the CR and the CGR.
They have a bunch.
Oh, I think CGR is from HBA.
I know I was the first certified remodeler in Minnesota back in 1987.
So in Oregon, I actually was chair of the education committee for our local NARI chapter, and we're the ones who actually got our licensing to require education, our state licensing for general contractors to get have to have education before they can just become a general contractor.
Sure.
Trying to raise the professionalism of our industry up.
So real quick, we're about done here. I just want to get a mention again to please check out the Builder Funnel Academy, our sponsor for the show. Actually, they're going to be here all month. And again, check it out. I think you'll enjoy what Spencer has put together there. So he's got a lot more information under that link that you can check out. Robin, thank you for being here. This was awesome.
My pleasure.
And I really am looking forward to working with you. Robin and I are working on some kitchen and bath classes that we'll be presenting at Chief Experts Academy. So stay tuned. We've got some really cool things that are coming that we're working on. And, if you guys have any questions, any ideas, any comments, by all means, drop me an email, dan@chiefexperts.com. I'd love to hear from you. Leave comments below the video. I always check those. Head over to Chief Experts Academy and check out everything we have going there. Robin, thanks again.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
Take care.